Hi, this is Bernard Harris, and welcome to BTalk. We all know the benefits of sports and hobbies, both physically and mentally. But what happens when something goes wrong? Today, we have with us Nina Kettunen, who will tell a story of the tragic events that led to her almost being crippled. Hi, Nina.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Bernard.
show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
Good.
Hopefully you are fine too, and everybody else.
I'm good. I'm good. We're trying to stay safe here. So tell us a little bit about your background.
My background is very versatile. Officially, I have Bachelor in Arts, so I've done BA Honours in Journalism and Performance Art, and I'm also studying MSc in Psychology at the moment and doing a degree in neurocoaching.
Okay, fine. That sounds interesting. And you're also working for the what is it, the Finnish Autism Association?
Spectrum, yeah, Autism Spectrum
Okay.
Association, yeah.
Oh, okay. How long have you been doing that?
I started in December, so I'm a newbie.
Oh, okay. So far, are you enjoying it?
Very much so. I think it's really important work, and it's also very interesting to be able to empower communities.
I guess. Well, let's get to your story. I guess on October the 31st, 2013, your life changed. Let's
Yeah.
get into that. Tell us what happened and so forth.
Yeah, I was on a holiday, once in a lifetime holiday in New Orleans, and I thought it was a well-deserved break before the Christmas season. I used to work as a performer, children's performer. I did a lot of music and movement and interactive concerts with children.
Okay.
And before the Christmas season, we decided to go with my father-in-law to New Orleans because he'd always wanted to travel there. And once we were there, I got invited to dance in a concert. And on the last night of the holiday, I was dancing on stage when my partner tripped over and caused me to fall down, and I injured my foot in a very bad way.
And I guess you went to the doctor right away in New Orleans?
No, we didn't go to the doctors in the States because we had a flight, red-eye flight, so it was just literally hours before our departure. So I traveled back to Finland, and as soon as we got here, I went to the doctors for a checkup.
And what was the first diagnosis?
Ligament injury, and I got a little cast and crutches, and they weren't doing me any good.
How long did it take you to realize it wasn't doing any good?
Well, I knew it straight away. I knew that I had damaged my foot badly, and I had a terrible feeling that it wasn't what they were saying it was. And trying to explain that to doctors is quite difficult because I'm by no means a medical expert, but I just know my body, and I just knew that something was really wrong. And I also suffered from horrible pain. The pain was something I had never experienced before, and I didn't know back then that it would be part of my life from there onwards.
So no X-rays, no MRIs. The doctor just said you have ligament damage, and we put the cast on.
Unfortunately, they did an X-ray, but the doctor was a trainee doctor and doing his work experience, and I happened to go to his reception on the last day of his stint there, and he failed to forward my X-rays to a specialist, and so they failed to notice that I had multiple fractures and ligament injuries and joint injuries which needed immediate medical care.
So things are just kind of falling in line now for something to go majorly wrong.
Yeah.
So what happened now? You went back to the doctor. You went to a different doctor, obviously, and then what happened?
No, still, I went to my health center and I called them pretty much every day for 6 weeks, asking them to see me again and to review the situation. If you book an appointment to health center in Finland, usually you first talk to a nurse who then decides whether there is need for care.
Yes.
And the nurses didn't think there was a need for care for a long time. They just said that I need to be patient and ligament injuries can be painful and they can take some time to heal. But after 6 weeks of calling them, they finally agreed to meet me. And as I hobbled into the reception, they were there to greet me and told me that I needed immediate medical care and I need to be transferred to the regional hospital.
And how did they know all of that right away?
Because they had seen the x-rays and the radiologist.
Oh, finally.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And what was the next step?
Next step was that I got one of my many casts. I had a solid cast at that point, and I had, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them, and all in all, I had a cast on for over 5 months.
Okay, so they put one cast on, take it off, put another on, take it off, put another on, and take it off. Okay, so that happened for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
I knew something was wrong. They knew something was wrong. There was my leg looked dead. That's about the only way to describe it. It was blue and black, cold, and the pain was something so excruciating. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything, and they didn't know why. And every time they removed the cast, they were just horrified by the look of my leg, and also the x-rays revealed that the fractures hadn't healed. So there was no healing, and in fact, the condition was just getting worse, and they didn't know why. So I went to see a bunch of orthopedists and finally found an orthopedist who told me straight away when I got to his reception the name of my illness and my condition.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah, Yrjänä Nietosvaara.
Okay,
hopefully he's listening. I'm forever grateful for him.
Yeah, just in case somebody else has a similar problem. So, okay, he diagnosed it, and then what?
Well, to have the diagnosis finally was a huge relief to begin with. It's a lot of cancer patients say that when they finally hear the news, it's a relief because they've known for a long time that something is not right. But I do remember as I ventured out of his office and I started heading home, my initial reaction was to read about the illness, and it just blew me away. I remember crying for 2.5 hours and thinking, how can I go back and explain to my children and to my husband like what's wrong with me and what's going on. It wasn't a pleasant read.
Okay, so so now you know what's wrong with you, and what would be the next steps coming up? Rehabilitation, surgery, what happened?
Well, I suffer from a condition called complex regional pain syndrome, and it's an autoimmune neuroinflammatory disease. And I was your stereotypical patient. It's very rare, but more common with women in their late 30s. And I was 36 when I got injured. And the illness is generally triggered off by long immobilization or a trauma or surgery. And as it happened, I had all 3 of them. And it's incurable, and it's also progressive, and it is very poorly known, and it comes with chronic pain, allodynia, which is a condition where anything and everything that shouldn't hurt hurts. It's like the sensory overdrive, and also neuropathic pain. And I started, and I had already experienced all of those. And as the months went on, my condition got worse.
And all of this started from a simple ankle injury.
Yeah.
So now you have, I guess, all these words we're talking about here would mean you have some major nerve damage.
Yeah, the doctor diagnosed a severe form of CRPS accompanied with a nerve damage. So my right leg is partially paralyzed from knee down, even now.
Even now, it's still paralyzed. And
Yeah.
how did the nerve damage affect the rest of your body?
It wasn't so much the nerve damage. I think I could have handled somehow the partial paralysis, but the problem was the pain and the symptoms. CRPS works to I've often said that to put the illness into layman's terms, it's a brain's way of interpreting that there is such a big blow that all the vitals go down. So there's no blood flow, there's no oxygen flow. And once that happens, then there's tissue damage and the limb basically becomes useless. The problem with the illness is that it doesn't stay local. So it's never just one place. Usually as time goes by, the symptoms spread, and that was the case with me as well. So what started out as neuroinflammatory symptoms on my right leg soon became a whole body experience. So it spread to my left limb, and then to my back, and then my hands and arms.
Wow. That's and it was pain in all these areas.
Yeah, the pain is such that I couldn't take a shower because the water felt like somebody was pouring acid on me. And even wearing socks or wearing clothes, the problem was that it wasn't comfortable to sit, it wasn't comfortable to lie down. Everything hurt, and everything hurt all the time.
And so how did you deal with that?
At first, I dealt with it well, in a wrong way. I was quite arrogant in the beginning. I thought that because I have background in sports, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm disciplined, that I would beat the odds and I would be, the first cured patient, so to speak.
Right.
And the good thing about it was that in the midst of it all, I learned to walk for the first time after the immobilization, about 7 months down the line from the initial injury. And then my condition deteriorated, and I was wheelchair bound within a year from the accident. I thought that it was still good to have that experience of being able to walk again, because it gave me that sort of reassurance that if it can happen once, it can happen again. But of course, like I said, in the initial stages of the illness, it was progressing so fast, and it just felt like I was dealt with one bad news after another one, and it can be quite devastating. And also there's the aspect of social isolation. All of a sudden, I wasn't able to work. All my time and my energy was consumed by the illness and rehabilitation. And then my then husband decided that it was all too much for him. And so I became a single parent. in those circumstances, and it was pretty wild.
And well, being a former athlete and being around sports, I know that when there's a lot of pain involved, there's usually a lot of pain medicine involved.
Yes.
How did that work for you?
It was awful. I call it my chemical storm. For 2 years, they were trying different types of medication, pain meds. They also use epilepsy medication to treat pain, and antidepressants, all sorts. And none of it was suitable for me. And so I was put on medication, taken off, and put back on. And it affected everything. It affected my memory, it affected my mood. I was barely functional at times. I felt that I fell ill. I truly fell ill at that point when they started trying on medication.
Did it have any lasting effect? Did you become addicted to any of these painkillers?
Of course, I did. I mean, I was a legal junkie, as I used to call myself. The problem with opiates, for example, is that even though I always religiously followed the doses that the doctors had prescribed, my body got used to them, and the painkillers became ineffective, and I had to regularly come off medication and then go back on. And when I came off the medication, I had the very symptoms every person who's ever been weaning themselves off from painkillers or any substances know, that cramps and the 2 days of constant nightmare.
Plus the original pain from the ankle and all the body pain.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to come off all of these drugs?
Well, I did it gradually. I stopped taking the epilepsy medication as well as the antidepressants in the space of half a year. And then the opiates, I was sort of on and off. I was trying to figure out ways to cope with the pain without painkillers. And there were times when I felt that it was just impossible. So that was another 6 months of trial and error before I finally felt that I was able to cope without pain meds.
What type of mentality do you think a person would need to, or that you had, to get through something like this? What was your driving force?
Well, my children, I'm a mom, so giving up was never really an option. I could see that my children were 7 and 8 when I fell ill, and of course they were confused, upset, sad, scared, and I was trying to think how I can explain these things to them in a way that is comprehensible, and at the same time that there's always an element of hope in everything that we experience. It's so easy to sort of lose one's hope in the midst of bad news and start living a sort of prognosis rather than life. And to sort of be able to believe in the body's ability to recover, and to also find the strength to do the best under very difficult circumstances are the things that are needed in order to pull through. And also, it's really important to have those people, whoever they might be, they could be doctors, nurses, spouses, who believe in you and who do the journey with you, because it is, I would say, almost impossible to do it alone.
So how is the ankle today?
Well, today, if I were to sort of go to, we met at the gym, and
Yes.
nobody can really tell any difference. My foot is completely paralyzed, my toes are paralyzed, and my leg is partially paralyzed from knee down. But I've learned to walk again. I can pretty much do anything and everything apart from running and jumping. That's the sort of impact. Anything to do with impact becomes too much after a while. And I work out 7 times a week, and I am as fit as I have ever been.
Okay, great. And no pain medicine nowadays. All that's gone.
No pain meds, still like chronic pain every day, but I feel that sports have helped me a lot in terms of pain, because sort of self-induced pain as a result of a workout somehow gives chronic pain a comprehensible frame. It's easier to deal with it when there's normal pain involved as well.
Yeah, it's that's true. That's true. It's certainly an amazing journey you've been on, and if you had to do it all over again, would you do it the same way?
No, no, I would lose the arrogance in the beginning.
Okay.
I would lose the sort of like depression and despair in the middle. And in some ways, it's still my reality, because nobody can really quite explain why I am as well off as I am at the moment. I do feel the illness every day. It's very much there. It's like my sort of nemesis. It's constantly lurking on the background. And so I've had to learn to live with the idea that I don't know if I will have my full mobility tomorrow, but I still need to live as normal life as I possibly can today, and just focus on trying to do the best I can to keep myself mobile and healthy.
Well, you seem to be doing quite well, and I think you are an excellent example of mental toughness. Because that's I like I said, I've been around sports a long time. I've seen a lot of injuries, various injuries, some bad, some not so bad, and it's always impressive when you talk to people, and just like we were talking and about your journey. It's a really interesting thing for me. You have a Bachelor of Arts degree in journalism and performance arts. Let's talk a little bit about that. I see you've done, what is it, over 1,000 interactive concerts with children. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I studied performance art and primarily dance. I grew up in a Christian home where dance was forbidden, and my family was very much focused on spiritual things. Sport and exercise and physical activity wasn't a part of my upbringing, on the contrary. And when I moved away from home, I decided that now was my time to dance and do whatever I feel like doing. And I threw myself into it, and I enjoyed it so much. Of course, I was always aware of the fact that there were people who'd been dancing since they were toddlers, and they had the sort of classical training, which was something that just wasn't available for me anymore. It wasn't really an option, but my approach to dance was different. I was very motivated, very disciplined in training, and but I also wanted to have fun. I wasn't taking myself too seriously. I was taking the dance very seriously, but in a different way. It was I viewed it as a mean for self-expression, and I guess that sort of helped me afterwards. When I graduated from England, I got back to Finland, and I was quite disheartened to discover that I couldn't get any work because I had a degree from abroad and I wasn't a classically trained dancer. So I contacted an agent, a friend of mine, and he said to me, why don't you do children's culture? That there aren't many people around there, and so the stage is free. And I thought, okay. I never really sort of pictured myself in a clown outfit, dancing and jumping around with kids, but that's what my sort of working life turned out to be, and I really enjoyed it.
Okay, great. So you are also, as we spoke earlier, involved with the Finnish Autism Association. How did you get involved in that?
I got involved through family and family members who are facing similar issues, and just discovering how difficult it is to get the support needed in Finland and elsewhere as well. These are poorly understood conditions. There's still a lot of ambiguity about what they are, and of course, given my background, I had experienced it in a different forum, but this experiences were very similar, and I thought that I want to do what I can to sort of promote neurodiversity and also inclusion. Inclusion is a very important thing for me.
And I think you said, if I remember correctly, your daughter has autism.
My daughter has ADHD, and autism is still, but it's still, she's within the spectrum, and there's still, she's now 15, but she's still being sort of evaluated, so she's still on the journey, so to speak.
Okay. How old is she now?
15.
Okay, time goes quick, huh?
Yeah.
So do you see Finland as a whole, as a country, when it comes to dealing with autism, making progress and gradual steps to get families more help and this type of stuff?
Well, I think the association I work for is a bit different because it's sort of autism-led association. There is a difference between parent-led and autism-led associations. Parent-led organizations try to provide peer support and also research information and these sort of supportive tools for families who encounter autism in one way or another, whereas autism-led associations try to empower the autistic community by giving them the chance to be heard, by giving them tools to make a difference, and that to me is so important. I think when I became disabled, all of a sudden I couldn't get work. It is very difficult to find work in a wheelchair, and I was absolutely baffled by this marginalization, that all of a sudden I had become an outcast. And I ended up working for the Finnish Association for Disabled Persons, Invalidiliitto. But I always said that I want to go from the margins to mainstream. That I feel that I have every right to be there, just like everybody else. And so this is my motivation in all my work, I want people to have the right to choose where they want to be. It's perfectly okay to stay in the margins if you want to be a spectator, but if there is a desire to be influential and to be heard, then it's important that we provide the sort of support and give people the chance to do what they want to do.
I certainly agree with that. Getting back to the wheelchair, how long were you in the wheelchair?
2004, 3 years.
And how long did it take you to get adjusted to being in a wheelchair?
A long time, because I had the experience of having before the accident, I thought I was immortal. I had a strong body, which did precisely what I wanted it to do. And to experience the sort of stage where I couldn't move my toes, I couldn't hold a cup of tea because I was too weak. It was awful. My body felt alien. I didn't recognize this weak body at all. I was used to being able to do whatever I wanted, and all of a sudden I could barely sit. And also, it was interesting to experience people's reactions. All of a sudden, in a wheelchair, there's no hiding place. I was really quite confused when I realized that people are staring at me and that I am forever sort of like standing out in public, whether I want it or not. And it felt awkward only because I wasn't okay with it, because I was in the midst of the sort of process of coming to terms with it. So it was hard to come to terms and to ask. People were asking questions, some were being friendly, some were being intrusive, others were patronizing. To experience all those things and not being okay with it myself was quite hard.
Did you find that through all of that, did you find that many people were actually wanting to genuinely help you in some way?
Yeah, there is good intention, but it's also it's one of those bizarre things that all of a sudden, when my misery was written all over my appearance, so when my wheelchair was there, somehow people felt that I was a great listener, and all of a sudden I could just carry all the misery in the world. So they were opening up. I had a lot of people coming to me opening up about things, and I was like, dear Lord, I've got enough on my plate.
Well, yeah, I guess people just wanted to share their problems with you, and well, you never know. Maybe you actually, by listening, help them.
I hope so. And it was also for, I'm not your stereotypical woman in a sense that I don't pay much attention to my appearance, but during the years in the wheelchair, I was very aware of my body and the changes in my body in the sort of most awkward way. I found it really difficult to I wanted to hide my body. I wanted to wear baggy clothes so that people couldn't see the changes. And also, I was divorced. And all of a sudden, I was supposed to go back on dating game. I was like, who's ever going to want me if I don't like myself? And that was also something that required a lot of work from me. And then the bizarre thing was that once I was almost sort of okay with my disabled identity, I had to come to terms with being in a wheelchair. All of a sudden, I wasn't in a wheelchair anymore. And I still had that mentality because I came to realize that the bonus of being in a wheelchair is that everybody can see my illness. Whereas now, nobody's aware of it. Outsiders aren't aware of it. And yet, it is a huge fundamental part of my life, which I feel every day.
So you were in the wheelchair because both of your legs were not working, or what? Because I would assume that if you just had the one leg on one side of your body bad, you could use crutches.
Yeah, like I said, the symptoms soon began to spread. So they spread from my right leg, my injured leg, to my left leg. And then when I went through a lot of intensive rehabilitation and physiotherapy, my legs started getting better. But at that point, my arms and my back were in such a condition that the wheelchair wasn't doing me any good, because I couldn't even sit and I couldn't drive my wheelchair.
So your whole body was just like, "Hey, we give up.
Yeah.
This pain is just too much."
Yeah.
Wow, that's an impressive story of how you actually recover from something like that, and have the mental toughness to be able to go through all of that. It's amazing, an amazing story, and something that you don't see every day. You know, I like I said, I've been in sports a long time, and I've seen athletes, crying about broken nail or jammed finger or slight twist of the ankle, stuff like this. Nothing major, but they make, like, the biggest case out of it. I'm injured, I can't walk, blah blah blah. But to actually meet someone who's actually gone through this amount of pain and recovered like you have, it's really impressive.
Thank you.
And with that, I want to thank you, Nina, for coming on and telling us your story and sharing your experience. And I'm sure this story is going to inspire somebody. And that's the basic reason I wanted you to come on, because I think this story is going to, it inspired me. My back was hurting, but after talking to you, I was good. so yeah, it's certainly gonna inspire somebody. And I want to say at this time, thank you for sharing that with us, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too, and thank you for having me here.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you later. See you.
Bye bye.
Yep, bye bye.